let me start with a little background. Who is the innovator, or who is Dmox?
My name is Tim Rimbui. I am a music producer primarily. I started off as a music producer. Also written a lot of songs for a lot of people. And I have another business that is talent management. So some three things that I do. But everything started with a PSS 270 Yamaha. I've always been curious about sounds since I was a child. And that led me to where we are right now, where I've done a lot of things as a songwriter, as a music producer, as an audio engineer, now a talent manager, and we have a record label of sorts. So, but it has all revolved. I think everything started on music.
All right, let's talk about projects. Not musical projects per se, but general projects. Which would you consider is the biggest projects you've worked on?
I think biggest, I've done things that open doors to other things. One, I was, recently I scored a film that was on Netflix that got an award.
Congratulations.
Best score.
Okay.
A lot of those sounds actually came from a trusty PS. This PSR that just launched recently and a montage.
Okay.
So it was an experiment to myself, or can I do primarily a score using the sounds that are inbuilt into keyboards. So that has been big. I got an award for score. So I've been fortunate. I've worked on Coke Studio, Tasca Project Film.
Tell me more about those projects. What were you doing
on Tasca Project Film? I was hired initially to write the signatures,
the jingle,
the piece of music, and then it got a life on its own. Then from there are issues with audio. So like you're a music producer, but we also understand you do live sound. Can you help us?
Okay.
And then with that, the role kept changing, where I got in through the door because of my ability to write a piece of music. But by the end, I was doing so many things, from even choosing who gets to go into because it's a big brother kind of type of situation, where we are literally judging these kids and their ability to sing.
Yeah.
So at one point I ended up being in A&R. By the time it was over, I was doing different things. So I was doing live sound. I was still on board as a music producer. I was still in charge of A&R, which means which songs are working, which doesn't work, how would we do this.
Coke Studio?
Coke Studio, the same thing. Coke Studio was the head of recorded audio, or anything that was recorded on stage.
Yeah.
That was my responsibility. Again, and then also, before, what people don't know is before you see it or they start recording, there have to be like 6 to 8 weeks of rehearsals. So that was done at my place.
All right, let's talk more about the music producing. How important is audio fidelity for the kind of work that you do?
So, at a very young age, I realized I could hear different from everyone else, and I'd always be like, "Can you hear that?" And I realized no one could. It's when I realized that what we hear is very important.
Okay.
And now, when I look at that journey from the early 80s, when I discovered I had a unique skill of not only hearing, but being able to arrange what I hear, and then also arrange it for other people, and other people thinking it's good. Those are two very different things. You can try to do it like
you can think it's good, but it's
somewhere. Other people coming and saying, "Hey, this is good. Can you try? Can we try that?"
Yeah.
Up to now, when there's been an explosion of a lot of video content, and now more than ever, you find that we are willing to forgive bad video content, but audio, no one is going to give you a second chance.
Yeah, a lot of people don't pay that attention to that. Yeah.
So, I think we're at a good space as music or audio professionals. So for me, audio fidelity is, I can't overemphasize how it is important to me.
What is your typical kind of setup in your studio?
So I have a montage. This is the montage 7. I have this PSR. So that's, for me, we all first start with a good keyboard.
That's the basic way.
Yeah, for me, a good keyboard, because even when I write or produce, I always have to, all my ideas start on here before I move to our workstation.
Okay.
So then a great sound card, and on that, the programs I use primarily is Nuendo and Cubase.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Nuendo and Cubase. I mean, I've always been a Logic head, but Nuendo and Cubase is where I'm moving towards, especially for collaboration across. You find a lot of musicians here either on Cubase or Nuendo. And Nuendo works if you're doing a lot of audio post.
Okay.
And then now monitors.
I've seen and heard that you're very passionate about your monitors.
Yes.
And I've read this before somewhere. Tell me about your favorite pairs of studio monitors.
My favorite pair of studio monitors is the HS7.
Okay.
And then now the younger ones, the smaller ones that I call the 5s.
The HS5s.
Yeah. The 5s, I use the 5s more than the 7s because, I mean, the smaller cone, and also, for me, they're the closest to the NS10s. Yeah, but the 5s, I go everywhere with them, also because they're small and they're compact. And I know, again, if it can sound, anything of mine can sound good on those. Because their frequency response, I think it starts at 54, 48. It's not as low as the 38 of the HS8.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I can get my kick to sound good on that,
Okay.
right? I know it will sound good on the 7s when I go to reference on the 7s and also on the 8s. And it's also good because it is important to remember what majority of the fans are listening to.
Yeah.
At least in this space of the world, in Africa, we don't have 5.1 systems. Everyone's listening on like a busted speaker system, or it's not so good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's good to have the grand setup, but for me, there's something that gets as close as to what the majority are listening on to is always key. And that's why I think even if you walk through across a lot of studios in Kenya, Uganda, TZ, Nigeria, everywhere, you find this because they translate well.
Okay.
They translate well.
They give you the natural sound you need.
They get a natural sound, and I mean the standard has been set by their ancestor. But I think it's maintaining that audio fidelity, or it'll translate everywhere, which is important in the house, in the club, in the car, on earphones and headphones.
So how easy or hard would you say it is to work with the HS series?
I think for me they're the easiest monitors I've ever found to use, and they're easy because it's, I mean, from what it's reading the instructions at the back or just plug and play. It literally, if you have a basic understanding of disconnecting things in, out, sound card, they're the easiest.
Okay.
The back, they put it the low pass or the high pass filter for cutting out low end or high end. They're very easy to understand.
Okay.
So for me, the learning curve is very low.
All right. Any parting shot, last words?
I mean, to anyone who is doing this, you must have some, like, your ego needs to be dialed up a bit because it's hard. Ukweli useme. It doesn't matter whether you're in Kenya or Tanzania or Nigeria or SA or the other places where are becoming the hubs of entertainment. It is hard, but if it was easy, everyone will do it. And now is actually the best time to actually persevere and come through, because there's been a renaissance, a rebirth of people wanting to see themselves.
Okay.
And you may not make it as a music producer, but you could do location sound.
Okay.
You could be podcasts at a rave, a good keyboard player. And I think in all that, the good thing is now there's tools that were not inaccessible.
Okay.
I mean, Yamaha is everywhere.
True.
So, I mean, persevere, but use the right tools. Yeah.
Tim Rimbui, Innovator, Dmox, thank you so much for
Just bro.
telling us about your sound journey and telling us your Yamaha PA story. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.